Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Brimlow. So today I want to do a quick tutorial and review of using some of the tools for RICAS that you'll need during the math testing. So this test site is going to be, it's just a practice test site, is linked in Canvas. So when you start, whether you're in 7th or 8th grade, they're very similar. There are a few different tools and I'll go over those. But when you start this practice test, it's going to look like this. You can just click start. Your scores aren't recorded anywhere. You don't need to give your name. So one session will have a calculator, one won't. So I'm going to go ahead and start. I don't want you to be worried so much about the questions, although it doesn't hurt to practice. I really want you to focus on using the tools. So for this one, you're going to graph on the number line. So select a place. So now notice that when I clicked here, it brought me to this smaller, it enlarged this smaller portion of the number line. So it's a more specific area. So you want to be comfortable placing a point on the number line, okay? At the top here, a couple of tools you're going to notice is the review. So you can see what questions you've answered, which ones you've bookmarked. You can bookmark pressing this. In this little toolbar, you've got your pointer, which is how I'm clicking. Answer eliminator when it's multiple choice. And then you have two rulers. One, which is a centimeter ruler, okay? You can turn it, you can move it where you need it. You also have an 6-inch ruler, same thing. You can move it. I'm going to go back to my pointer. Over here on the right, you have your exhibits, which are different reference sheets. So this first one gives you your formulas that you might need for some of the problems, and then some directions as well to review. So make sure you check this out, especially with all the formulas it has. We've learned a lot this year, whether it's 7th grade or 8th grade. So this would be a really good resource. Okay. There's going to be some graphing, whether it's 7th or 8th grade, so make sure you're comfortable using them. I'm going to just run through these questions. This is my first time seeing it in a few years myself, so see if there's anything worth noting. So part A and part B, so you want to make sure you're answering both parts to the best of your ability, okay? Notice this is a drop down, so you're going to have multiple options. So this is a slider, so you would do the problem and then slide it to whatever number you wanted it to be. This is a drag and drop, so you're going to drag the numbers where you think they go. Now, if you click the wrong one, you can drag it out, you can replace it, okay? But that's a drag and drop, and not all of the numbers will necessarily be used, okay? So this is 7th grade, session 1, and it will tell you how you did. Now, I was just going back and forth trying the tools out, so I didn't do as well. But once again, I don't want you to focus so much on the questions. I want you to focus on the tools. So now I'm going to go ahead and look at 8th grade. Once again, a lot of similar tools, but let's see the few differences you might have. So for this graphing, we're graphing on a coordinate plane. Now, when you go to graph each equation, you're going to click an equation, and then you're going to graph it. Okay, you just need 2 points. Then when you're ready to do the next equation, now you have to be careful because you can move your points wherever you want. So you want to be very specific in where you put your point, okay? And then plot another point, we'll draw the line, okay? Just a text box answer to put your answer in. This one you're just saying it's linear, it's not linear, so you're just clicking. Once again, multiple parts, make sure you're answering the questions, both parts of it before you move on. Sometimes they'll have up to 4 parts, so it's really important that you scroll down to make sure you get everything. Number line for you, like we saw in 7th grade. Once again, a lot of these tools are similar between the 2 grades, but depending on the content, might be a little different, such as the graphing we saw in the first question. Okay. And then this last one, drop down. Okay. Looking at 2 different functions. Now, you will be able to, in session 2, I believe for both grades have a session where you use a calculator. However, it's not letting me get to that practice. I'm going to try one more time. So computer. Okay, so for some reason it's not letting me get to the computer one where you have the calculator. So I'm just going to go back to session 1, which we looked at. And, oh no, this is session 2. Okay, I don't know why it's saying session 1. I apologize. So session 2, now whether you're in 7th or 8th grade, you might have text boxes you have to type in. They will give you these equation editors is what they call it in Google. So you have your different arithmetic signs. You can create a fraction. Okay, so then you type in the top, click the numerator denominator, mixed numbers. If you want to write an exponent, you could put X and then you'd hit this exponent button. So that way it will raise it to a power. Square roots, parentheses, and percent signs. They have more symbols, which you may need to use depending on what you're doing. Okay. You can undo something if you don't like it. You want to get rid of it. You can also delete everything and start over. Okay. So this is graphing a line. Once again, we saw that before. Plot 2 points, it will graph. Select 3 correct statements. So remember that if it's asking you to pick more than one, or select all that apply, there's multiple answers. And as you saw, as I was highlighting that, you can highlight information that's important that you want to come back to, you don't want to forget. Okay. Multiple choice. This is where you can use the answer eliminator. So if you know for sure 24 is not the answer, you can eliminate it right away. That way it's not distracting you, and then you can focus on whatever the numbers are that you want to focus on. You can also see up here we have some different calculators. So we've got a scientific calculator. It's a step up from a basic, has the functions. Then we have a graphing calculator. So this would be specifically for 8th grade, not 7th grade. And then Desmos calculator, which we've used both in 7th and 8th grade. I would recommend you do not use a graphing calculator. It's not something we've practiced using, and I don't want you to waste your time trying to figure it out and use the different features of it. I would either use the scientific calculator or the graphing calculator. Okay. So this is another drag and drop. Okay. And so part A, you're typing something. Part B, you're graphing. So you can see then there's a part C and D like I described before. Okay. So this is the 8th grade one. I'm going to go back and take a look at the 7th grade one and see if there are any other features that I may have missed. Once again, they're very similar, but it just depends on the content, what you're going to need. A lot of this stuff, if you practice it on iExcel, is very similar in how you use it. So select the 3 two-dimensional. Okay, so 3. So notice it says 3, it's telling you how many options. One of those select alls. Enter only your answer. So you just enter a number. You wouldn't enter any sort of sentence or anything. All right, so student drew this, and then you're going to plot the location of the points. So this is just graphing like we saw in 8th grade. Okay. All right, so expression, is this equivalent to what you need? Yes or no? Okay. So you'd go through and click for each one. Multiple choice, once again, you can use the answer eliminator here if you need to. I also want to show you too that you, for 7th grade, have a 5-function calculator. So this is a basic calculator we use regularly. You also have scientific, which has a few extra buttons at the top. Let's see. Yep, it includes pi right here. It includes your square root and exponent if you need it. I'm not sure you will in 7th grade, but just a few things to point out as we go through this. So once again, another example where you've got a 3-part question. So you want to make sure you answer all 3 parts. You've got your math symbols here like we saw before. You're going to also notice they have some different categories. So relations, so when you're comparing or saying what's equal to each other, geometry, symbols. So notice that you can pick which ones you want to use. Same thing, you have the undo, redo, clear all. That was the end of the test. So once again, today and Monday as well, I really want you to spend the time playing with the tools. Make sure you're comfortable with it. I would encourage you to attempt the problems to the best of your ability. But at the end of the day, a lot of the struggles students have with math being on the computer is using the different tools. It's much easier to do it on paper. However, this is the format. So I want to make sure you're prepared for that. If you have any questions, let me know, and I will chat with you soon.